OneWestMagazine, OneWest Radio. It's your boy Damian Sanders. We live and in charge. We doing it real, real big. Shouts out to the big homie OG Suicide for landing on that OneWestMagazine foundation. And we got a very special guest in the house today, man. He is a legend in his own right. Been blazing the ones and twos for a long time. We got Power 106's own DJ Philly Phil in the house, man. What's up, OG?
Man, thanks for having me, bro. My pleasure.
Now, first of all, thanks for taking the time to holler at OneWest Magazine and featuring in our next issue.
Man, it's my pleasure, man. I'm excited to be here, and when I got the call, I was geeked to be able to do this with y'all, man.
Now, I had a chance to meet you one time before I met you at the Urban Network a long time ago out there in Palm Springs, man.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you showed me a whole lot of love, man. But let's get right into it. Like, the first thing I want to know is, how did you know that you wanted to be a DJ?
Oh man, I guess I knew I wanted to be a DJ. You know, growing up, I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. I was always into music. You know, when I was younger, my mom got me involved in the church. I learned. Well, she got me piano lessons when I was younger, and I ended up playing the drums in a little band, actually a little rock band. And, you know, growing up in Atlanta, you know, I was around, you know, hip-hop music, and just being around music with the family and church and, you know, living in a city like Atlanta, just, you know, that's what got me into it. And I took that out here to L.A. My family moved to L.A. I went to high school out in Pomona. And ended up DJing some house parties, and you know, one thing led to another, and you know, that led to, you know, clubs, and the clubs led to radio, and I was producing music at the same time, so it just kind of all came together. But I don't know if there was any one thing to answer your question that got me into DJing. It was just, you know, I had a love for music, and I used to always listen to the radio, and you know, I did what a lot of us did back there, man. I put back in the day, I put the cassette in there and hit pause, and I'd listen to the radio, and when a song came on I liked, I would take it off pause, and then when it ended, I would pause it and wait for the next song, you know. So I was kind of getting my little DJ on, you know, before I was, you know, just with a radio, with a cassette player. Now, dig that. Now,
I ask every DJ this same question right here. Now, is there any DJ out there in particular that influenced you the most?
Absolutely, man. Jam Master Jay. I mean, he was.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, man. He was, man. You know, he was the first DJ that I really kind of molded myself after. I mean, he influenced me in a lot of ways. He also influenced me as a producer. But I would mimic the way he would scratch on some of the early Run DMC records. I mean, I could take you back to, you know, It's Like That, and that's the way it is. I could take you back to 30 Days, and, you know, I mean, the King of Rock album, all that. So he was a really big influence. And then later on in my life, when I actually not only got to meet him, but ended up building, you know, a personal relationship with him, you know, he just influenced me in so many ways, not only in the younger years in my life, but also as an adult, after I had kind of established myself. You know, ironically, you know, 20 years later, I became friends with him, and he influenced me as an adult as well. So, I mean, hands down, Jam Master Jay.
Man, God rest his soul, man, a legend all day long. Now, I definitely have to ask you this question right here, because you better than anybody would probably know. Do you know when you hear a hit record? And if so, what do you think is the recipe for a hit record?
Yeah, I mean, you know what, man? It's kind of a tricky question to answer, because, yeah, I like to think that I know a hit record when I hear it. But I will also say that there's times where, you know, hit records, you know, I've always said, like, what is a hit? You know, I mean, there's so many different ways to define what a hit record is. Sometimes it's just, it ends up being the success of a record. But in my opinion, there's times where I hear hit records that never have the success of what some people define as a hit.
They fall through the cracks.
Right, so it's really hard to answer that, but overall, yeah, I mean, I think I have actually one of my biggest strengths, really isn't DJing, it's really not producing music. I think one of my biggest strengths that I've been blessed with is my ear. I tend to know what sounds good, and I've been very, very fortunate to have that, man. So, I think I know what a hit record sounds like, but every once in a while I have to, you gotta listen to the people, and I've learned not only being a club DJ, but being a radio DJ is not much different. I mean, the only difference is you're playing to a crowd that you can't see on the radio. But the thing that remains synonymous with both being a club DJ and being a DJ on the radio is that you still have to give your crowd, your audience, what they want. And sometimes you don't know it all as a DJ, and you have to pay attention to what people want to hear, whether it means, you start hearing people request a certain record over and over again coming up to you in the DJ booth at the club, or you start seeing, a lot of people request stuff on the airwaves, or you see stuff on Twitter or Instagram, or maybe you see a video that has a billion views. Those are things you can't ignore. So I pay attention to what the people are saying is a hit, not just what my ear hears and tells me is a hit.
Okay, now moving right along, the main question that's out there that every aspiring artist has is how do they go about getting their music in DJ Philly Phil's hands to possibly get airplay on Power 106?
I mean, there's different ways. I mean, I always tell people, like, if you want to be heard, you're gonna find a way to do it.
All day.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I've had songs that I've played on the air, because somebody randomly emailed it to me. Sometimes it's because I met somebody at a function, and they gave me their song, and I heard it and liked it, and I played it. I mean, there's not any one way. I mean, my suggestion is to, make yourself heard, make yourself seen. And now with today's, in the environment we live in, we're in the midst of an internet revolution. There's so many outlets to be heard that, you got to find a way to make that happen, whether it's, on Instagram or Twitter or YouTube, or putting yourself in the right place to meet the right people. I mean, there's so many ways to do it. There's not any one way. You just kind of got to be open and use your mind and be creative. And if you want something bad enough, you're gonna find a way to be heard.
Now dig that. Once again, this is OneWestMagazine, OneWest Radio, man. We live and in charge. We got DJ Philly Phil in the house right now. Now, I know you was born in the South, but we definitely consider you one of our own out here in LA all day long. So what is your opinion of the state of West Coast hip hop as it stands right now?
Well, I mean, obviously I sit in a very unique seat because, I not only DJ clubs, but I'm also, I break records on the radio, and I'm also in a unique seat because, as you stated, like, I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia, but I grew up out here. I mean, my family moved here when I was in high school, and I was around doing my thing when the likes of Eazy-E and Dr. Dre and I mean, I could take you back to King T and Rodney O and Joe Cooley. That's when I was coming up. So I got a chance to really grow up with LA music. I mean, I'm not just gonna say LA hip hop. I grew up with LA music. I mean, I was also a huge Van Halen fan. I was into rock as well, and but obviously the urban scene was kind of ended up being it overthrew everything else for me, and I found that ended up being my love was hip hop, and but I am a lover of music. But yeah, man, I mean, LA is my home. I went to high school out here. My family's out here. I mean, have always considered, the majority of my roots actually to be West Coast, because I've spent the majority of my life out here.
Okay, now you're a producer as well as a DJ. Now tell us, what are some of the fondest memories that you have out there, or some of the artists that you enjoy working with the most that you produce for?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I mean, I can tell you this. One of my favorite projects that I worked on was a record that I produced called Finer Things, which was with Neo on the hook. Neo wrote the hook. He sang the hook. It was featuring Fabulous, Kanye West, and Luda. And Kanye West, Jermaine Dupri, and Fabulous.
Okay. Yeah.
And Neo sang the hook. And that was one project that it was just always stood out. It wasn't one of my bigger records. Get Buck in here was hands down the biggest record I did. I mean, today, it's almost sold to gone double platinum.
Congratulations.
No, thank you, man. I'm very proud of that. But Finer Things was, I don't know, man. You can't, sometimes you don't really know how to explain it, but that was working with Neo on that project, and Kanye and Fab and JD. I mean, I go way back with Jermaine, and Jermaine gave me the opportunity of a lifetime over at Def Jam when he had the So Def label at Def Jam, and that just was very fond memories, and was one of my favorite projects that I've ever worked on.
Dig that. Now, this is a loaded question right here for you all day long. This could very well make an artist's career just by you speaking on it. Right about now, who is on DJ Felly Phil's radar right now?
Oh man, there's a long list. I mean, I would have to say, gosh, you put me on the spot here. You're gonna make me whip out a list, man. There's a new artist, and I'm embarrassed because I can't remember his name. But I just met him with Joe Moses. Man, I can't remember the name to save my life, man. I'll think of it in a minute. But yeah, Joe Moses has a new artist. Actually, I think his name is. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's Chidena. He's a very interesting artist, to say the least. He sings. It's really hard to explain that one. But Chidena would definitely be one. Ray Shrimmerd. I mean, the guy came. These guys came and really changed the sound. They came with a real, original sound. So I'm definitely, a fan. And I can tell you somebody else, man, who's kind of reinventing himself. That I go way back with, Project Pat. Yeah, he's coming with some new stuff, man. So I'm really excited for him. And let me see, who else? Logic. Logic is a true MC. And as far as I'm trying to think of some singers, Natalie LaRose, which is Flow Rider's new artist. She has a new record with Jeremiah. Man, there's so many, man. I mean, it's really hard for me to.
Well, all in out, you got your ears to the streets all day long.
Oh man, I try to, man. It's hard to keep up with, it's hard to keep up with everything, but I try to make that my job, and like I said, I pay attention to, and man, listen, I'm leaving so many new artists out right now. It's just when I get put on the spot like that, it's hard for me to remember. But
I had to hit you with it.
yeah, nah, it's all good. I mean, there's so many up and coming artists, even from the West Coast. I mean, you talk about Bobby Brackens, who's an amazing writer, and he's gonna be one of the next. I mean, you got G-Eazy up in the Bay, and man, I'm trying to think of some. Of course, we all know Audio Push has been doing it for a second, and I'm really happy for these guys. They're starting to really, they're true MCs. I mean, you could even go as far as to say that these guys are like battle MCs, and to see them, putting together records that are, getting the attention that they're finally, deserving of, is exciting. And man, I can keep going, but that's the name of few, like, right off top.
That's more than enough. That's love right there. Now, for my last question, now, what would you like to see more of, not just in hip hop, but in the music industry, period?
I think I'd like to see, and I think it's kind of going in this direction. I mean, I'd like to see more collabs with where hip hop meets. Hip hop meets other, whether it be, alternative rock or hip hop meets EDM dance music, which we're starting to see a lot of that with, for example, DJ Snake with Lil Jon, Turned Down for What. That was kind of that, it was hip hop meets the EDM electronic sound, and I'm a big fan of that. I mean, if you go back and listen to Get Buck in here, that had those elements. And, I'm a big fan of combining different sounds. You got to remember, I grew up listening to a lot of booty bass, dance music, up-tempo. I can take you back to Two Live Crew. I obviously, MC Shadi. I mean, I can go back to MC Chazzy Chess and DJ Magic Mike, and I mean, all the old bass groups, which they called it Miami bass, but a lot of people don't realize that whole sound kind of came from LA and from California. I mean, I can take you back, and I don't even know if you remember this, but there was one of my favorite groups back in the day was a group, Byron Davis and the Fresh Crew.
Oh, yes, most deaf, all day.
Yeah, so I grew up around all that up-tempo dance, party, bass music, and so, and I grew up around hip-hop. What they consider real hip-hop. I can take you that direction as well. So, I like hearing that bass sound mixed with hip-hop. And I think producers and DJs, that's why Jermaine Dupri and Lil Jon are two DJs and producers that I'm very close friends with these guys. And we kind of grew up the same way, hence the fact I think we have kind of a similar style when it comes to DJing. Jermaine and John, they can rock a hip-hop party, straight hood hip-hop, and they can take it to the EDM dance music at the same time. And, I do the same thing, and I would like to see, that sound, that combination of the bass, dance, the electronic mixed with the hip-hop more. And I think that, you're starting to see that, you're starting to see that more and more with people like Diplo and A-Track and DJ Snake. So I'm excited for that sound.
Now, all day long. Now, once again, this is OneWestMagazine, OneWest Radio. We got DJ Felly Fell in the house. Now, for the fans that want to find you online, how can they find you online?
Oh, man, they can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DJ Felly Fell. And they can go to my website at djfellyfell.com. And you spell that DJFELLIFEL.
Now, before we go, any quick shout-outs you want to throw out in the streets?
Oh, man, I got to definitely shout out all my family at Power 106, all my heavy hitter DJ family around the world. And I got to shout out I got to shout out Lil Jon and Juicy J, and because they're on a new record I'm working on. Actually, Lil Jon, Juicy J, and I'm missing somebody, Tyga. It's a new record I'm working on called Blackout, and it's actually similar to what I was just talking about, where the EDM music, the electronic music meets hip-hop. It's more of an up-tempo party record, but it's called Blackout. Look for that. Again, it's Lil Jon, Juicy J, and Tyga. And then I'm working on some material with some new material with Neo, some new material with Jeremiah, French Montana, Big Sean. So I got some things cracking, man. I'm excited. I'm excited about it. I got a new mixtape coming out. So look for that.
Man, I'm really humbled by this interview, OG.
Man, it's my pleasure, man. I really appreciate it, man. Anytime, man. You guys hit me up anytime. I'm always around.
I don't think I've ever been so nervous, man, but it's all gravy, man. I appreciate you.
I'm flattered, bro, man. Come on now.
All day long. Once again, this is One West Magazine, One West Radio, man. I was DJ Felly Fell in the house, man, and you do know that.
Peace out.
Step in my way, you get sprayed. I guarantee that it's whatever.